All right, so I'll call the executive board meeting to order at 6:01 p.m. Thanks everyone for being here. First item up is the changes to the agenda, and I do have one to add. Let's do it before the executive director's report, and it's just an appointment of Pete Silverberg. It's just I nominated him. I give him an interim appointment, so we'll just finalize that tonight.
Lovely, thank you.
Any other amendments or changes to the agenda? All right, hearing and seeing none, we'll move on to administrative reports. First up is the secretary's report from June 10th. From our June 10th meeting, the link was provided in the agenda. I would entertain a motion to approve the June 10th, 2025. Thank you, Stephen. Do I hear a second? Thank you, Bonnie. It looked pretty good to me, but any corrections, edits? All right, hearing and seeing none, all those in favor of approval of the June 10th report, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
All right, that's unanimous. So motion passes. Moving on to the quarterly financial report. It's too bad Aunt can't be here tonight as our treasurer, but luckily Inessa has joined us. So that also, the link to the quarterly financial report was included in the agenda. And I'll turn that over to Inessa to present the highlights, or if anybody, let's, I guess process wise, let's let Inessa sort of present the highlights.
Right.
And then if you have any questions.
And Inessa, I made you co-host if you want to share anything.
Do I need to share anything? Actually, I can't because I'm on my work computer viewing documents. I don't know if how it works. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, yeah, whatever's on your screen, but go ahead.
Yes. So we are reporting our quarter from April 1st to June 30th. We trailing revenue, in a good manner. We are at about 66% overall. In July, we billed for town assessments, so it's not reflected here, but we did that billing in July and received pretty much all the payments already. In expenses, we also, going by the budget in personnel, fringe is a little bit ahead, but it's okay. It's still within the budget. There was no big expenses. Although we expensed out in March all our equipment and a little bit even beyond that, as we purchased a few computers, big expensive machines. So we sort of reshuffled monies from different buckets. So we expensed out and closed out equipment expense line. So we are good on cash. As of today, we actually have a little bit over 380,000. Back to June, we had 337,000 in the bank. I'm anticipating to end the year at about 167,000 after all the billing is done and payments. Some payments will be due in October for the retirement plan. So that's pretty much highlights. If anybody have any questions.
I have one sort of random question, Nessa, and you've probably said it before, but just to keep in my head, we have our M&T Bank. It's in a sweep account.
Yes.
Is that right? Okay.
Yep. Yeah, we are making about a little over $200 monthly for the interest, but they're charging us $130. Yes.
Chris and Inessa, do we still have a line of credit if we need it that's automatic? Okay, so if some federal thing happened or something else, we do have something to fall back on if we needed it for a while.
Yeah, I think it's Inessa's a total of 150,000, I think.
Yeah.
Yep, 100 in Bradford savings and 50 at the M&T.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions about our quarterly financial report? And Vanessa, you feel good about, it seems like you feel good about being under budget, given that we're 3/4 through our year.
Yeah, and we anticipate that, you know, we with the brownfields, it's so hard to, you know, imagine what would be throughout the year, you know, depending on the projects and all that stuff. But it doesn't really matter because what goes out comes back. It goes through our books, all expenses, and then we can get reimbursed. So yeah.
All right. Thanks for that. We'll move on to the next item on our agenda, which is the proposed, it's FY 25 or FY 26? It should be 26, FY 26, not 25 program and budget.
Sorry about that.
Sorry, I didn't catch that either, Chris, as I was reviewing. And that was attached as part of the big PDF, both the work plan and the proposed budget. So again, I'll let Ines and Chris give us the highlights, and then if we have any questions.
So let me talk to you first, and then Anessa, you can try to bring up the budget if y'all want us to, or I can try to bring it up. But let me talk you through it first.
Yeah.
Really, just kind of the highlights.
I can bring it up.
Okay. So I'll just start with the work program, which of course is related to the budget. If you looked at it, there's no dramatic changes to like the format or anything like that. I did note, however, where we have the biggest risk to us, of course, right now are kind of vagaries with the federal funding stream. And I note that our biggest area of exposure right now, not in terms of total dollars, but in terms of things actually happening, as the Emergency Management Performance Grant. And as I note, and I can change this for full commission, as I noted in the draft, it looked like funding for that program, which supports our emergency management work, is now going to be made available. And in fact, we just got the application from VEM with a very quick turnaround. But I don't think, Anessa, I did not see a number attached to that application.
I asked her separately. It's the same, exactly the same, 41,000.
Okay, we were actually anticipating maybe a cut. So that's actually going to be more budget positive. So just so you know, I will tweak the work program to just say we've had exposure. This is an example. I'll use this as an example of where like a normal regular funding stream was delayed, and now it's back. So I will tweak that language. But otherwise, the other thing I note in there is that on our revenue assumptions, and you'll see this in the budget too, as you may recall in years past, we talk about, especially like municipal projects and regional projects, where based on prior years, even though specific projects haven't been identified based on prior performance, prior history, we would usually say like, okay, we can reasonably expect like an additional $20,000 or additional $40,000 in municipal projects or regional projects are going to come about because that's been a relatively consistent pattern over the years. What I note is for this year's budget, Anessa and I wanted to take a very conservative approach, and this was endorsed by the Finance Committee too. We don't include what we call soft revenue allowances because I felt like given the uncertainty at the federal level and however that may translate to the state level, I didn't want to base budget assumptions I wanted to base the budget assumptions on as concrete a numbers as possible. So that way, when it comes to estimating our expenses and budgeting, what we think we have to spend, it's grounded in as much reality as we can have right now. So maybe that's too conservative. I think in the end for 2026, barring any rescissions at the state level because of needing to meet other, having to cut us, probably as well as with everybody else to accomplish some things, or if the Fed's pulling funding back for some unknown reason. I think we're actually probably going to be, from a revenue perspective, in a better position than what the budget reflects, but I would rather have the budget and the work program reflect that kind of conservative approach as opposed to being overly optimistic. So, so that's the work program in a nutshell. It's the same as usual, right? It calls out, just identifies the different areas of work that we do. It describes how we're funded. So no real changes there. So any questions about the work program before we get into the budget?
Can I just ask one question, just out of my curiosity? I know the Municipal Regional Planning Fund, is supposed to be 17% of the property transfer taxes. And you talk about how we got another increase this year, which is good. Where are we at this point? Like, how close are we to 17%? I was just sort of,
I would have to look at the total budget for all the RPCs. But I think we're still a pretty good ways away from that. And with this year too, I've mentioned this previously, but let me finish up on the work program first, and then we'll get into the budget numbers. But any questions on the work program and how we handled that? Okay.
Chris, just a quick question. Who gets this document besides us and the full commission?
We post it on the website.
Okay, so everyone sees it. So we should be aware that whatever we approve, everyone is able to see within the town. So it's good to be able to point to the background of this, on August 12th, 2025, because what we don't want is that we don't want towns to say, well, we didn't get the money from that the WRC promised us.
Well, of course, we don't give money to towns, so that's
Right.
not gonna be an issue. But if there's some area of work that we can't do, yeah, and Stephen, so just so you know, Steve, every year when I do the town reports, we always point people, if you were interested, where you can go find the work program, where you can find the budget.
Right.
So it's all right there for people to see. I mean, I can add another sentence about this is, obviously this budget, this work program represents a snapshot in time. I think I pretty much already say that anyway, but if it's not clear enough, I can make it more explicit, because I talk about that things are uncertain right now.
No, it's fine. Thanks.
But nobody, it's like nobody is really, unlike, the main people, if an issue came about that we wouldn't be able to pay, and this would be in real time, it would be our staff. And, unless something gets pulled, there was that risk early on in February about funding, potentially, remember there's that freeze period when,
Right.
and I stopped all work with our brownfields contractors. I mean, and honestly, I don't think that situation is, I'm hesitant to say probable. I don't even know what word to use, because I don't know what the hell to expect. To me, the odd thing, and I know it's being recorded, and I don't mind saying this. I mean, to me, where we just are not sure is like the behavior we've seen related, especially to immigration status and whether or not states are offering support. So there's a hypothetical, but the governor's choice not to use the National Guard to support federal immigration efforts. Is it possible that the administration will cut off transportation funds or reimburse or brownfields or something? It is possible. I mean, so we're in a period of uncertainty. So all of that could happen, but right now I just can't plan our lives around that. And so far, we've seen kind of backing off from that kind of chaos, but it may come back again. Who knows?
Thanks.
I just want to mention that we sent our budget to ACCD, to Jenny, who reviews, that we actually put those funds on our budget, operating budget.
So if we want to go to budget, do you guys want us to pull it up, or do you want me to, or do you want me to just talk everybody through it? Because the numbers are as grounded as they've probably ever been, because we have there, and that's, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there may be still a few outliers where we don't have an exact number yet, like on some municipal project management funds or other things, but otherwise it's about as specific as we've ever been. And Gabby, to your question about the funding through our contract with the Agency of Commerce and Community Development, what they did was last year we had an increase to our base, and then we got additional funding to support our work to around Act 181 compliance. And what they did this year was they actually took our base from FY25 and added that Act 181 funding to our base. So they actually increased our base. And then they gave us an increase, I think it was like 2.5%, for the total RPC budgets, not just ours individually, but the aggregate dollars, like a 2.5% increase. So it works out to, what is it? And that's a 6.7%. I would not anticipate, for FY27 that we're going to see that again, but it was great that the legislature added what could have been one-time funding as an increase to our base. I think they're recognizing with Act 181 and other things that we're just going to have more work to do. So, Gabby, I could find out for you how close we are to the statutory formula, but I think we're still fairly well below the 17%.
Yeah, I was just sort of curious as to where we were sitting with, given that we had these increases, which is a good thing.
Yeah. And the only other thing, the big item here that I'll note, so Vermont has traditionally funded municipal updates to their local hazard mitigation plans using BRIC funding, that's the Building Resilient Infrastructure and Communities funding through FEMA. And the federal government, the administration, terminated that program. So now the state is trying to figure out, okay, what funding are we going to use to help municipalities update their local hazard mitigation plans? And so we would normally expect to have more local hazard mitigation plans in the queue for us to work on in FY 2026, but you're not seeing those because there's no funding stream for that. And this is beyond our, this was going to require an overall state strategy about how to support updates to local hazard mitigation plans. So we just kind of need to follow the state's lead on this. And the other big question is, most towns adopt these things because it's a FEMA requirement in order to pursue, to get other FEMA funds. So if FEMA starts eliminating programs and funding streams, what is the federal relevance of a local hazard mitigation plan? Beyond it being good planning, what are going to be the actual ramifications if a municipality doesn't have an updated plan? And so there's a lot of stuff way above our level that needs to get worked out, but that's going to be potentially a long run change to what had been a fairly significant funding stream for us. Of course, the town doesn't have to use us to update their local hazard mitigation plan. They may opt to go with a private contractor, and it's possible if FEMA funding doesn't remain, it's possible towns may want to fund those updates themselves. But there's just a lot in play there that I can't answer right now, and we'll just kind of have to give this some time to play out. And scroll down a little bit there, and that's so you see we have a number of municipal project manager. These are projects where towns get a grant, then we basically help facilitate the administration of that grant. We're not serving as what's called a clerk of the works, where we're overseeing construction, but we're overseeing the town's engagement with the funding agency to make sure that the towns are getting reimbursed and that they're following all the grant requirements. So we have a number of those municipal project management type projects, a number of what are called grants, and not a huge number, but the grants and aid projects down there, those are basically helping towns comport with the municipal roads general permit requirements. And those are the road erosion inventories and such. Similarly, the Better Roads grants help with that. Municipal planning grants, those are the ones that we know that we've got in the court, and they just announced, we'll be getting the word out to all the towns what the FY27 call for projects came out, but that's what we've got. But if you notice down at the very bottom, we say we have other municipal planning grants, other town projects. We zero those out, and I note that relative. So last year we made $20,000 assumptions on both of those, and as you see there, I say no assumptions being made for FY 2026, and that's what I was describing before. And similar on regional projects, no major changes that we can add emergency management performance grant. Oh, and this already has. So we are level funded on that. Otherwise, no real changes. Our transportation planning initiative was level funded. Let's see. The under resiliency zones, that was the project that we had FEMA funding for to work with Green Mountain Power with individual towns on electricity resiliency strategies. We ended that contract because Green Mountain Power is just now doing that. There's been a lot in the news about them undergrounding power lines, more in-home battery offerings, more basically hardening of the grid. And so there wasn't any point in continuing to work on this because Green Mountain Power, through their zero outages initiative, were doing this anyway. So we ended that. That was a challenging grant anyway because the FEMA under that grant program did not reimburse us for our what's called our indirect rate. So it's fairly expensive money to use, but on the upside, the work is getting done. So and that through Green Mountain Power, so that's great. And that's really it on the revenue side. And on soft revenue allowance under regional projects, again, you'll see we zeroed out the soft revenue allowance there of $30,000. As a note, there are no assumptions being made for FY26. So any questions on the revenue side of things? Okay. Stephen?
Yeah, one question right at the top of the piece where there's a line item interest sweep account. I'm just curious, from 25, which was 12,000 plus, it goes down to 3,004 for 26. I was curious why such a large change in terms of interest, which is low anyway, but I'm just curious about the change in numbers.
Yeah, we were counting not only the operating fund, but the brownfields, and accountants sort of blend in the governmental way of treating balance sheet, so that cash was sitting in or is sitting in Bradwell savings account, and sort of it's not really cash for our operating. So that's why I decided to not to count on it anymore.
And that was on the advice of our auditors, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like they said one way, and then we had P-Check and Company first, and then when we switched to the other one, it became clear to me that yes, they are blending in and reporting as one, but it's actually not cash for us, so we cannot count that in our operating account.
So basically, it's not a change in interest rates, or it's a change in accounting method.
How we approach that. And
Thank you.
yeah, and this 3,400, it's about how much we would be, clearing out after the fees. Well, actually, before the fees will be down in expenses.
Right.
And as you'll note, and just one other thing while we're on, so on town assessments, we're assuming 3% increase based on consumer price index.
Right.
Now, I want to just flag this for everybody. It could be that if we see major cuts elsewhere, not for this year, but for FY27, we may need to change that approach. Because basically what we've done is we set a rate with towns, right? And we said we're only going to increase your town assessments based on the consumer price index. That's been our practice for years. Before any of you served, I think we did do one major adjustment because we had gotten so far behind on our rate. It was incredibly low, and towns didn't question it at all. They were like, sure, still a good deal. But it is possible that in FY27, if we see cuts elsewhere, basically what we've kind of done is level funded those town assessments, right? We've just been keeping up with inflation. It may be that in 27, we may need to take a different approach to that. Nothing to worry about right now. I just want to give you guys a heads up because as exec board, we may have to think about asking towns for more to maintain levels of service and capacity. So. And then on expenditures, so again, we were, as opposed to the conservative approach that we took on revenue, we were actually fairly liberal on on what the assumptions were about where we're going to see cost increases. And so I think our health insurance rate increase estimate, that's actually higher, right, Anessa, than what MVP has proposed to the Green Mountain Care Board, I think.
Yeah, I think we reacted with 7.5, probably back to a month and a half ago. And then you just sent me recently, a couple of weeks ago, that they probably will be even cutting that. So we have a little push in there.
And under personnel, we have proposed a 1% increase across the board.
Yep.
That's, again, conservative approach. We've already informed staff that that's what we had asked for, but at least we're offering something. And also, Alyssa had wanted to go. She had been working part-time. Now she wants to go closer to full-time. I think
94%.
94%. And so that the personnel line also, so it reflects a 1% increase to salaries, and then that increase in Alyssa's time to, what was she before, 97%? What is she now?
80. She
Okay.
was 80. Mhm. Now
So
she wants to be 30 hours per week.
Right. Travel, these are,
Chris, can I just ask a quick question? Why did the cost for personnel go down as compared to FY25's budget then?
Because, and that's what, correct me if I'm wrong, but we had included some of the we had budgeted in before hiring of interns from universities.
Yeah.
So that now reflects Anand in there as the kind of term limited position that he holds, but we eliminated those intern positions from universities. Is that correct? And that's what I'm remembering.
That was about 50,000 set aside. Yep, was included in 2025.
Does that make sense, Gabby?
Yep, thank you.
And then we just made some assumptions like just being potential increases in travel. And that a lot of that is just mileage going from place to place. Slight increase to organizational memberships, slight increase to conferences, training, memberships, but nothing radical. I'm trying to figure out if there's anything else. You do see an increase. Well, let's see. I guess our FY25 budget, FY26, we did get cybersecurity insurance this year.
Rent is staying the same.
Yeah, and that's a certain. We heard our landlord told us that, so that was great news.
Yeah.
Right, so sorry.
The main change down here is housing infrastructure community engagement. That was $30,000 we had set aside for continued work with universities. This year, the project is the Four-Town Flood Adaptation Charrette that we're doing with UMass Amherst and American Institute of Architects, Communities by Design program that we're doing in Wilmington, Dover, Whitingham, and Reesboro. Our assumption is we won't have funding to do that for next year. So that's why you're not seeing that in the budget. And then we're assuming the contingency we're showing, and this is at the bottom, the contingency is that our anticipated quote unquote surplus.
Yep, 95,000. Yep.
Yeah. And just so you know, when we first started this budgeting process, we were looking at what we thought was a $20,000 deficit. And then we were eking out, well, we were like, oh, and now we got a $20,000 surplus. And then we had another change. We're like, oh, now it looks like a $4,000. Now we're up to, because of the Emergency Management Performance Grant, we're back up in more comfortable territory. And I just feel more comfortable with that kind of buffer. So I'll just, again, not mind talking about this openly. My hope is that if we get to the end of the year and we're running, we've stuck to budget, we haven't had crazy changes, and we're able to help staff, and this will be up to you guys, but we're able to help staff maybe perhaps with end of fiscal year bonuses when we know how we're going to end the year, or if we need to carry, if we're in a position where we can actually carry over money because of the nature of our funding, that's where we may be able to do additional staff compensation. But for now, the approach I prefer to take is let's budget for an increase that we're comfortable with. And then at the end of the fiscal year, if it looks like we can do more, or even mid-year or whatever, let's do that then. And the reason for that is not to cut anybody short, but I think like most people, right, you plan your life around what your anticipated salary is. And I would rather be realistic and safe with salary expectations and not have to wind up cutting if that's at all avoidable. So just wanted to explain that logic. So happy to answer any questions, and feel free to jump in with anything else that you.
Yeah, I just wanted to add on a human resource side, we had to cut, and of course we can make a change back again. So we provided a little bit of a support for health reimbursement accounts. It's a program where we would, the WRC would cover up to 75%, it based on deductible amount for people. We have 4 single enrolled as a single, and then we have 1 as a parent plus child and 2 as a family. So with this budget and, be very conservative on the bottom line, we cut by 30%. So currently it's 75. So we cut down by 30%. So people will have less of benefit receiving toward those, health-related reimbursements. So it's not savings, it's reimbursement. It's a program that allows specific, items related to health, like co-pays and other stuff, to be reimbursed. So those kind of like come out of your pocket. So that's one. And then with the dental, it stays the same, 50-50. With the sorry, my cat, stop. So with the retirement plan, this year we were build that based on employees paying 2.375%, and the total we have to contribute. So the difference for the contribution goes out from the employer was 11%. So this coming year we kept the same for employees, 2.375%, but of course VMers increased the overall total, so the employer share is a little bit higher. So there's a little bit of a help in the human resource side. So that's, anybody have any questions? Is that clear?
Bonnie had a question.
Okay. Where is Bonnie? Okay.
I guess when she gets back, Gabby, if you can just help me keep an eye out for Bonnie so we can field what questions she had.
Okay. Sure. So those manipulations we had to make in order to arrive to, a feeling comfortable zone at the bottom line. Go ahead, Steve.
She said, go ahead, Steve.
Oh, okay, sorry. While Bonnie's away, I have a quick question about the consulting fee. It was 37,000 and 0. Was that consulting for a particular project? What was that? Was that for the WRC or for a particular project?
So this is the pocket, the place where I set to offset the brownfields expenses. So
okay.
it's what comes out, assessment work, RLF, Vermont assessment. The bills come to us from those vendors, and then we pay them. So it cash out from our books. It's our expense, and then we get reimbursed from various, sources. So it's up in our income. So that figure has to be exactly even. What leaves in our bank is monies for Sue's time.
So I guess in some ways, that's another accounting change, right?
Yeah, I mean, we treat it, you see, the grants and loans, it's definitely brownfields because we do have loans and, some treated as grants. For the consultancy, we had different projects, was Imtech Lane. So I just treated them differently. I just named them differently. So they sat and consultant. I guess they can be in one, just divided them in the prior years.
Bonnie, are you back? So Finance Committee reviewed this. They felt comfortable with the approach. The other thing I'll just share is what I've told staff, and I think Anessa can confirm this, is that I'm just going to be candid with them as things go along about what the outlook is, both for this year and then the coming year. I've been in a situation before where organization with no warning come into an office one day and it's like, hey, we're going to have to let everybody go. I'm not talking about that. I'm not anticipating that kind of situation, but it was just like no communication about what our situation was. One of the things I've communicated to staff about this year is we've had a number of new staff join us over the last few years, and we've had some latitude for like overspending on some projects and not really affecting our bottom line. What I've communicated to them is at the beginning of the fiscal year, we're going to have kind of an all hands meeting to talk about this with this budget year. This is going back. We just don't have a lot of the flexibility we've had in these fairly robust periods since a lot of new people have come on. And so everybody's going to have to really carefully track their time on a project. And we don't have a lot of, luckily we don't have a lot of learning curve anymore because that's kind of where the overspending had happened before. But we're not going to have room for that going forward. So, and similarly, like with town contracts, oftentimes we would be like, well, we're not going to use all that contracted funding, but we're going to need to use all that contracted funding now to make the budget balance out. So that's just going to be the nature of the beach. Well, welcome back, Lonnie. You had a question earlier?
Yeah, like in the very beginning, there's a line that says fringe up there with salaries and personnel. What does that cover?
In expenses,
Yeah, because
fringe,
travel and stuff is further down. What is fringe?
it's all benefits, medical, health insurance.
Oh, okay. Those are all the benefits. Okay.
Yeah. Then we
we pulled retirement out last year. That used to be in fringe. We pulled that out, so it'd be on its own line item.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Chris, maybe going forward 2027, I just will share what the finance committee kind of had suggestions how to save on money. Do you remember? And was mentioning about medical benefits that we pay out to people who are not on our plan.
Yeah, we were just kicking around ideas about where we might, if savings have to be had in 27, where we might look.
Yeah.
And one of the items that we had talked about that we mentioned was right now before I even came on in FY, and this is I guess Sunday would have been my 15th anniversary with WRC. What we have treated the healthcare premiums basically as part of the benefits package. I mean, or not part of the income package, because and so what we have done is for those who don't participate in our program, you get that equivalent as part of your income package, because we haven't treated that just as a benefit. We've treated that as that is basically part of your overall compensation package. And so Ann Manwaring was specifically noted, well, that may be something that we want to revisit. But we've done that forever since I've been here, but that is something that we can look at. But because the assumption is that, you know, if somebody's not insured at WRC, they get insured by a spouse or something else. And so, so we could potentially make some cuts there. I've also tended to look at it as, given the deductibles, you're probably still using that money for healthcare anyway. But anyway, that's something we can look at for 27. But we can talk about it now if you want to, but that's something Ann said maybe we revisit for 27.
The finance committee is aware of it and, you know, thinking about it going forward. I also wanted to mention in income side, you see some places are spots, some have no amounts yet. And this is because we don't know them yet. So like,
We know most all of them now. I mean,
okay.
we've been filling those in.
Estimated, yeah.
Yeah.
In the water, clean water projects, yeah, that this was kind of.
So you'll see under clean water projects, there's catalyst funds. And so
Yeah.
that's a grant that we've applied for. We think we've got a pretty good chance of getting it, but we don't know yet. So we put it in the budget, but we zeroed it out until we know how much.
Right. So these items are still unknown. We don't have any, you know, contracts basically.
So any other questions? Are y'all feeling comfortable about all this? The approach and.
Yeah, I think it was great, and I think the explanations were really helpful, and I think everyone's going to be understanding given the federal context.
So I guess the main thing, you all don't necessarily have to vote on it, was however you want to handle it, Gabby, but the main thing is we just get the exec board's blessing to forward this to the full commission with the exec board's recommendation.
Yeah, I mean, I think let's just do a vote. Like, so I'd entertain a motion to that we recommend adoption by the full commission at our annual business meeting in August.
So moved.
Thank you, Bonnie. Do I have a second? Thank you, Steve. Any further discussion? All those in favor of recommending this proposed FY26 work plan and budget at our next full commission meeting, raise your hand or say aye. Thank you. That passes unanimously. All right, and thanks, Anessa and Chris, for the thorough work.
Chris, do you want not make me not a host?
I think you're a co-host, but
I claim the host to be able to share, but maybe you can. It doesn't look like I can. Maybe
Bonnie, you got a hand up?
No.
Oh, no, that was her voting hand.
And for whatever reason, Anessa, let's see. What does it show? It's showing you as host, yeah.
Okay.
And I can't change. So Anessa, you have to change me back to host.
Ah, okay.
I can't do anything right now.
Okay.
I'm powerless.
Okay. Do you want to change the yes, I do. All right. Check it out.
Yeah, I think we're good now.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
thank
okay.
you. I don't know if you're going to leave or stay, Anessa, or but
I'm
you're
gonna
welcome
leave.
either.
Yeah, but I don't want your.
Everything to close out.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you,
Take care.
Anessa.
Bye-bye.
All right, moving on to the Brownfields recommendation of the grant loan combo for 81 Royal Road. There was a memo at the end of the PDF packet that we shared with you. This has to do with continuing cleanup costs at what will be what is expected to be a groundwork shelter in Brattleboro. The Brownfield Steering Committee recommended a 80-20 split loan grant combo of and totaling $107,981. And Brattleboro Savings and Loan sort of does the underwriting for us, and they recommended the loan grant as well. So I would entertain a motion to, we can have a discussion, but I'll entertain a motion to approve the loan grant combo for at 81 Royal Road, 80/20 grant loan totaling 107,981.
So moved.
Thank you, Bonnie. Do I have a second? Thank you, Stephen. All right. Any discussion? Did you have any questions about the memo or what was, or the project? Yes, Stephen?
The impression is one of the structures being torn down is from 1890. Is it assumed that the operation of that facility and the demolition of that facility is going to yield some of these hazardous materials?
No, this is ground cleanup
It's ground cleanup from
from
not
things that have,
necessarily the related buildings, just ground cleanup.
Well,
Yeah, okay.
it says there's contaminated soils. There's plenty of contaminated soil.
Yeah, no, I'm just
it
curious.
I mean, presumably it was from a use of that property at one time or another. I mean, it's not, I mean, we usually make sure it doesn't leach from another place, but I mean, I don't know if you're thinking about lead or asbestos abatement of the building, but that's not included in this.
Right, so this is strictly ground, and is there any history of what accounts for that?
Yeah, they do this has gone in depth and as a part of our application process for our brownfields loan, or actually just to be, admitted into the brownfields program, as you have to show potential historic use, which without going through the files, I don't know exactly what that particular use was.
Right, okay, thank you.
But if you want to know, feel free to reach out do you want me to ask Susan and get back to you, Stephen, or do you want to reach out to her directly?
I'll call, I can call and ask.
And you might, and if you
Wait.
want to take a shortcut, may even look at the brownfields minutes.
I was going to say, you should
Okay.
just look at the brownfields notes,
Okay,
because we go through a matrix when we enter a program and enter a site into our program, it has to be shown to have had probable prior contamination. This is a cleanup, so we know it was contaminated. And it has to be contaminated prior to the purchase of the property by the current owner, so they can't have contributed to the contamination, for example. So there's a number of things we look at in bringing brownfields projects into our program.
just a small diversion maybe, but the soil pollution and the properties being transferred, who's liable for the pollution? Is it does it stay with the previous owner, or does it go to the new owner?
I'm going to suggest that if you're interested, you can either go to brownfields and or talk to Sue Westa, because
Okay.
that's a pretty complex question that,
Okay, thank you.
yeah, that I think needs a offline discussion.
Yeah, I'll call. Fine, thank you. Thank you.
So any further discussion about the grant loan combo? All right, all those in favor of the proposed grant loan combo, raise your hand or say aye. Steve Lemke?
Aye.
Aye, okay, so motion's unanimous. Thank you.
Now I've got appointment.
Exactly. So this is just a formalization. Appointment of Pete Silverberg, and let me just take the chance too to clarify what's going on as we sort of changed our process with committees and the committee structure. So as we narrowed our committees, we also changed our process for getting information from commissioners, and we are asking them for their interests. So we're asking for their interests and keeping those on record, so that when we do have working groups, we know who might have interest in various areas. But at the same time, it's absolutely encouraged, if a commissioner wants to be part of a committee, that they should ask us, and we should appoint them. And so Pete Silverberg asked for appointment to, I think we said Transportation Committee, but it's really a TAC right now, right? So does everyone understand the difference? Just to refresh, it's not necessarily only commissioner driven, right? The TAC is an advisory committee that includes stakeholder reps with knowledge. So for example, town road commissioners. So towns are encouraged, and Chris, you're gonna I know all about this in theory. I've never actually been to one, so Chris is going to kick me under the table virtually if I say something wrong. But for the TAC, it's not like an all commissioner meeting. It's supposed to be an advisory commission, and so we've asked towns to send representatives for people who have knowledge in the area. So I just want to clarify and make sure everybody is on the same page with that. Is that fair, Chris?
Yeah, that's the nature of the TAC. And then, yeah, when a commissioner joins, it's not like in the past when you guys joined, when we had, right, the whole suite of kind of topical committees. And so obviously, we're not, I assume the exec board is not looking for like a 20-member personnel committee, a 15-member finance committee. We're more of an operational committee. The TAC is different now and from what it used to be, because it used to be primarily commissioners. Now we invite towns. They haven't necessarily followed through, but we've invited them to appoint people directly to the TAC, as opposed to you guys as exec board appointing members to commissioners to the TAC. So the dynamic has changed since we basically slimmed down the committee structure. And so far, that seems to be working pretty well. Apologies to both Stephen Silverberg and Chait for Stephen
Pete
Silverberg.
Silverberg.
Pete Silverberg kind of got caught in the change here, but I think we're in a good place now. So, Gabby, you had appointed him. You had interim appointment to the TAC, right?
Yeah, that's what it seemed like you wanted. So, right now, I think it's to formalize the appointment to the TAC, and it seems like he also wants to be part of project review.
And project review, yeah.
So,
And
does anyone have any
clarifications? Can I just ask one of the clarifications now? As an approved commission, as an approved appointment as commissioner, he has a vote on the TAC, whereas some of the community members may not. Is that correct?
But per the TAC rules of procedure, the TAC members can vote. It doesn't make any difference whether he's a commissioner or not.
Okay, yes,
If it's a town appointed person to the TAC, they can vote.
yes. Okay. He wasn't town appointed, he's a commissioner, so he wasn't, but his interest is for the transportation and for project review. Thank you.
So you guys should have your vote. But what I was going to say was, like, if Pete at some point decided not to be a commissioner, but he'd like to continue to serve on the TAC, the town could appoint him to serve as a TAC, not as a commissioner. Remember, not, yeah.
So do you want a motion?
I don't think I need a motion. It's just our rules of our bylaws say it's an appointment by the chair with sort of approval by the executive board. So does anyone have any issues with me appointing him to the TAC and the project review committee?
No.
All right.
Long overdue, actually. So.
Well, again, I thank you for your patience, Stephen. I'm sure you told him it's totally fine that, we appreciate him coming to meetings, and it's more important to his participation than the vote per se. He is absolutely, I know he had a concern that he expressed about not fulfilling his duties as a commissioner by not being appointed, but, any commissioner that is showing up, to our commission meetings is doing their job. Anything major that's regionally significant is going to go to the full commission. So and I'm sure you told him this, but I just want to reiterate that absolutely any commissioner that's not on a committee or not having a vote on a committee while there's an interim appointment, the commissioners are absolutely fulfilling their duties as a commissioner and looking at regional issues. So I hope that you would reiterate that to him again if he does have any concerns.
Okay, thank you.
All right, moving on to the executive director's report. Chris?
So one decision, you don't need to vote on it, but so after we have our August business meeting, and then we typically the commission doesn't meet in November, December, so theoretically you can meet in September and October. There'd been the request, and we've kind of begun this tradition of having an autumn all in-person meeting, with heavy hors d'oeuvres. And this year, what I would like to propose is that we do that in October on the regularly scheduled full commission meeting date, and then not have, unless you have another reason to meet, not have a September full commission meeting. But to do that in-person meeting in October, the reason for October, and what I'd like to propose is that we really that really be kind of a meet and greet fellowship type meeting for commissioners to get to know each other. And in lieu of a guest speaker, what I'd like to do is have staff just do very brief kind of friendly overviews of what they do, what they like about working with the commission, some about their background to give commissioners an opportunity to kind of get to at least get a chance to kind of know what they do and what they're a little bit about themselves. And then also the main point of the whole gathering is for the commissioners to engage with staff, commissioners to engage with each other. And so the reason why I'm proposing we do that in October is because on our regular September meeting date, we've got 3 staff who are going to be in a public meeting in Putney. So I would like to have as many staff at this thing as possible. But is that idea okay? I mean, do you think that'd be enough compelling interest to get people who want to be there?
Absolutely. I think it's
And
great.
did the Union Hall work out okay last time for everybody? But they've improved the acoustics and okay.
It worked out very nicely, I thought.
Okay, so we'll probably go. I'm not trying to overuse Newfane, but we've typically gone to Newfane or Townsend because it's kind of the center of the region, and so that way it's either is equally fair or unfair to people to get there.
Equally unfair to everybody.
Okay. So thank you. So we'll plan on. And are you okay with skipping a September meeting? You guys have been pretty busy. Okay.
No, I think it's great. We got the regional plan approved, and then we'll have our business meeting and then give people a little break.
Okay. And then just one other thing I'd like to go ahead and invite her. What I was thinking was maybe for your January full commission meeting, inviting Janet Hurley. She's the new chair of director of the Land Use Review Board. I was thinking invite her to just tell the commission about what her vision is for the LURB, what changes have been made. And the great thing about Janet too was she used to work for Bennington County Regional Commission. So she was a regional commission planner and knows regional commissions and how we work. But if it's okay with you guys, I was going to invite her to be our guest presenter at the January meeting. Now that's assuming I don't think we're going to have Matt's not going to have anything for us to do on our Act 181 regional plan update. But that may be the only kind of wrinkle that I need to confirm. But okay. I'm just making a note to myself. Today, the governor had his capital for a day in Windham County. I was in Bellows Falls with A&R meeting with town staff and A&R staff and about the fixing. It's more than a gully. It's it's a terrifying eroding issue going on over in the industrial park. It's really amazing how much of the ground is eroding. That's really literally threatening like the Chroma building and the Sonex building. We're talking like 100-foot, eroding soils of what was the bottom of Glacial Lake Hitchcock. Those terraces are eroding. And so we've been the project manager and kind of a project leader on this. And so they wanted to highlight that. And then we met with also at the town office again with A&R to have discussion about outdoor recreation economy. Brockingham had a VOREC, Vermont Outdoor Recreation Economy grant. And then also they're participating in this pilot project for local outdoor recreation economy, development of a local outdoor recreation economy toolkit. And then they wanted to feature our outdoor recreation economy inventory, that we've done. So that was the meetings I was involved in. Alyssa went to meetings about general public meetings about issues about flood recovery. There was one meeting in Newfane and one in Londonderry. I couldn't go to those two because I was in Brockingham. And I think that's everything the staff went to, but the governor was at a few things, something in Brattleboro. And I know, I don't know if it's part of the cabinet for a day, but I think, the entity that oversees early childhood development was like up at Winston Prouty. So, they had a number of people scattered all over the region. So that happened today. We're in the process of update. We're changing website platforms. We're going to have a new website redesign. Jeff is handling that. We're going to have everything done by the end of this fiscal year so we can use the funding for this year. The reason why we're doing this is Joomla, the platform we've been using, is no longer going to be supported. So we hired somebody and are moving to, I apologize, I'm not remembering which platform it is, but it's one of the real common ones that should be supported for perpetuity. But a lot of the content's not going to change, but how we present it should be even more clear than what it is. So I think you'll like it. And is there anything else? I think that's really it. I will work with, I think what we'll do in January, I don't think we need to do anything beforehand. We'll have Matt back to present to everybody in January about the update to the future land use maps and the other things we need to do to come into compliance with Act 181 as far as our regional plan is concerned. And he's already given you kind of the preview of that during our, I think it was the April meeting, or maybe it was the February meeting or March meeting. But anyway, he gave an overview of that during a prior meeting. But in January, we'll have him go over the details for the coming calendar year. And then last but not least, at your, assuming we'll have, I think it'll probably be a brief exec board meeting in September. But what I'd like to do is once we see what our end of year projection is, I'd like to come to you guys if there's reason that, if it looks like there's a reasonable expectation to do this, come to you with a possible I don't like the word bonuses, but I guess basically end of year compensation proposal for staff if it looks like we've got latitude to do that. Right now it's looking pretty good, but I want to see more of what the numbers look like. The idea wouldn't be anything huge. We'd want to be fairly conservative, but everybody's been doing I've reviewed their performance at the beginning of the year. Nothing's changed. Everybody's doing just a bang up job. I mean, they're working. They're doing good work. I'm not hearing complaints from the town, so I would just like to do whatever we can for them. I'll come up with a proposal and justification. But it's probably not going to. We did a fairly significant one last year. It's probably not going to be as big. But anyway, so if you guys are okay, I'll bring that to you in September. Unless you'd rather me. We've also in the past I've discussed it with the chair, and you guys have given me latitude, but I'd kind of like to come to you guys with something if that's okay.
Thank you.
Sounds good.
And that's all I've got.
Okay, thanks, Chris. All right, moving on to committee chair reports, and I think the one that is most time sensitive is the nominating committee proposal slate that I know Steve Lemke's been working with me and Chris, and he's been doing the brunt of the work over the past couple months, and I'm really excited to say that he's created and developed a great slate for both our officers and exec board. So I'll turn it over to Stephen and thank him 10 times over in advance for all of his work.
So, it was pretty interesting when I went into this. I knew it would take a bit of time mostly the time is from tracking people down, and knowing what messages to leave and things like that. But first of all, I want to thank all of you and the rest of the executive board for accepting their appointments for another year. And everybody I worked with Ashley to make sure the special interest folks and the current executive board were interested in continuing. And I'm happy to say everybody was. And all good comments from people, mostly saying how honored they are to be part of this group, and I would echo all of that. The charge this year was to fill Tim and Jack's position and one vacant position on the executive board that we've had for some period of time, and also to fill the position of vice chair, which Jack assumed. So by Bonnie saying yes, she would be willing to serve another year. I also asked her if she would be interested in being the vice chair, and she kindly accepted with all the appropriate qualifications. Can I do this? And I did that. But anyway, Bonnie, it's a pleasure to be able to announce that you'll be the vice chair for the coming year. So thank you for accepting all of that. As well as we're talking about Bonnie, we can also talk about the three people who are the new executive board members. One is Rick, is it Cohen or Cowan?
Cohen, he calls it.
Cohen. So Rick Cohen from Rockingham was recommended by Bonnie. I think Bonnie, you either are currently now or have been a select board member with Rick, and he's had planning commission background and stuff. Brings a lot of experience to the position, and had a lot of questions. I was really, actually, I don't often say this, but I was really pleased to have these conversations with people who by their answers alone, when I asked them would they consider this or that, really thought about it and eventually got back to me and pumped me up by telling me how honored they are to be part of this group. So everybody should sit up straight now and accept our charges. So anyway, Rick was delighted to be asked and has accepted. Gretchen Havrick, who lives in Jacksonville, but serves as an economic development special interest commissioner. She's also an economic development consultant for the town of Wilmington, and has in fact done some consulting for WRC. She was again delighted to be asked. I think she brings a really direct portfolio of good information and good background for community development, and would cross over on any type of special projects or project development questions. And I explained that to her, that we would be looking for those kinds of things. And the last one is Bill Dunkel from Wyndham. He's a historian, a commentator, a former teacher and principal. He's been a planning commissioner, energy commissioner, and I think he's on the select board. His only hesitation was, did he have time to do it? Like all the rest of us, what our spouses or significant others always say, just could you keep your hand down for one session so that you don't end up doing 6 other things? And of course he said, I'm inclined to do it, but I need to talk to my wife. And he called and he said, I'll let you know in 24 hours. And I said, should I talk to your wife? And he said, no, I'll talk to her. So anyway, 24 hours later on the dot, he called back and said that we all agreed that he would be a good addition to this and that they could work it out, and she was in favor of it. So, I think I give you that sort of background because all of us enjoy the joys and sorrows of working on things that are not our jobs, but are things that our families are impacted by, and the meetings that go along with it. And I think these 3 people clearly understand it, and I was very clear with them what the expectations were and when they would start. They will start with their first official executive board meeting in September. Obviously, they could join at any full commission meeting because they're commissioners, but also they could join any executive board meeting as a member of the public. So I left it at that. For the next executive board meeting, I might reach out to them and say, here's what's happening. And I mentioned it to Bill Dunkel, and one of the things he said was that I'm having hip surgery or something tonight, so he's passed on that. So anyway, I think it was a success in the process. I think what will happen next, if I have this correct, is that we, and some combination of us, will take this to the full commission meeting on the 26th of August, Tuesday. Bring it to the group as the report of the nominating committee, which was me, myself, and I, along with Chris and Gabby. And we will ask for any additional recommendations or nominations from the floor. I don't believe there has ever been a nomination from the floor, or at least none that got a second. So anyway, we expect to put it forth as a slate of the executive board and the special interest commissioners, including the new commissioners.
And Stephen, all the special interest commissioners, they all agreed to re-up again?
Yes, all the special interest and all the executive board commissioners agreed, again, wholeheartedly. In just reading the emails, I asked Ashley to help me by sending out a non-personal email to let everybody have the feeling that they could say no if they wanted to say no without saying no to someone other than Ashley. And each person got back with a really nice email explaining that they would like to continue. So I think we would present it as a slate unless there's a nomination from the floor that would upend one or more of the new people. So I can't
Uh-oh.
He froze. Uh-oh. Hopefully he'll come back. But I think in the meantime, we've done it in the past, assuming there's no nominations from the floor, is that Steve Lemke, as the nominating committee chair, would make a motion for a slate of officers, a slate of to fill out the remainder of the exec. Oh, there you are, Stephen.
Yeah, sorry, I think right at the end, the internet took a little vacation and is back now. So anyway, if you agree with the process, Chris and Gabby, that's what'll happen. We'll do it as a slate and deal with any issues that come up.
What I'll do, Steven, if it's helpful, and you guys are okay with this, I'll draft up a script for you and have Gabby review it too. And
Great.
just make it a little easier on you so you don't have to do that on your own.
Okay, that's perfect. And you know,
And I think the motion would come from you as the nominating committee chair for the slate of
Okay.
officers, slate of to fill out the exec board, and then slate for special interest commissioners.
and do you feel the need to do a short bio on the individuals, or just let people assume that, do we take a vote tonight on accepting these people as executive committee members, or we just
No,
wait?
but it's that the full commission is the one who appoints elects the officers and the exec board. So
Okay, so I think we're good to go. We've got three great people, and Bonnie is vice chair, so I think we're in good shape.
yeah, and
I
I
just
think
wanna
you
say,
want to give it like a 2-minute, like a 2-sentence background, like you just did about the exec board proposed nominees who aren't currently already serving. That would be great.
Okay, great.
I'll write that up. And I just want to say I really appreciate, so you guys know, I'm not on the committee. And generally speaking, this was done without my involvement at all, other than just a few questions, which was awesome because I just feel uncomfortable choosing my own bosses. I like to stay out of this process. And so really, really appreciate you taking this on, Stephen. Because to me, this is the way it happened is kind of ideal from my perspective because people were asking me like about attendance, right? Not like, is this a good person to serve? It was just, so staying out of that was really great. So appreciate that.
Yeah, and Ashley was a big help. She's very clinical and very businesslike in her approach. So, when I asked her questions about attendance at committees and things like that, she was very general, but said if there was something here, I would let you know. So that was good too. We never got into having to discuss a particular person and the joys or sorrows of that person joining the board. So it went very well as far as I was concerned.
And I think just overall, I think the slate that, you came up with, Stephen, I think it's an extremely strong executive board.
I do too.
Really good overall. It's, this organization and this exec board in particular has always been very strong and effective. And I think with these 3 members, they will just be more so. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right. Any other chair reports or anything you want to bring to everyone's attention as a committee chair? All right, hearing and seeing none, we'll move on. There were no action items to review, so I think we're in good shape there.
Gabby, if I could, one thing on the
Wait.
full commission meeting, just so you guys aren't caught by surprise. I'm going to work with Jim Matteau to draft up an in memoriam resolution honoring Lou Sorensen, who was passed away director prior to. So Jim, of course, I knew Lou as a commissioner. Jim worked with him as assistant director for decades. So Jim's going to work with me on that. So that'll be another item on the agenda. Is that okay, Gabby?
Oh yeah, that's a good idea. And then I was thinking, should we do a resolution for Jack as well, since he was on the committee for
Sure.
several
Yeah.
decades, which I think shows his unusual commitment, in a good way, unusual, to the organization.
Sure. Okay.
All right, anything else before we move on? All right, there's no action items to report back on, and I don't think there's any action items to put on the list for today's meeting. With that, I should have added public comment to this. So
Oops.
do it now. Any public comment? My bad.
No public.
Well, but you can say anything that's not, I mean, it's a time to talk about or make an announcement about anything that is not already discussed on the agenda. All right, hearing and seeing none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Thank you, Stephen. Second by Stephen, motion by Steve Lemke, second by Stephen Chait. Non-debatable motion. All those in favor? Bonnie's already out of here. Thank you. We're adjourned
you.
at 7:16
Thank you all.
p.m.
Have a good
Bye,
night.
all.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.